I know it's no secret I'm no fan of the whole first in the nation status thing for New Hampshire. Of course, as Mike Barnacle told us earlier on Boston Public Radio, New Hampshire is Brooklyn compared to Iowa, but I'm still not convinced about this hometown advantage thing. Joining me for that and much more are Fergus Cullen. Fergus is the former chair of the New Hampshire Republican State Committee, the youngest ever. I don't know why that matters. He's now executive vice president of the Center for Research and Public Policy, also the author of Granite Steps, Stumbles, Surprises, and Successes on the new New Hampshire primary trail. Great to see you, Fergus. We should mention he's supporting John Kasich, but he's also hosted a slew of parties for other candidates. As for the woman sitting beside him, that of course would be Arnie Arneson. Arnie's a former New Hampshire state rep, making $100 a year. She's a Democratic candidate for governor, and now host of The Attitude on WNHN. We're also joined by Neil Levesque, I'm almost done, executive director of the New Hampshire Institute of Politics and Political Library at St. Anselm College right here in Manchester. Great to see all three of you. Starting with you, you get 30 seconds to tell me I am clueless. New Hampshire is the perfect place. 30 seconds only, each of you, the perfect place for the First in the Nation primary. Take it away, Fergus.
It's the last place where candidates have a two-way conversation with the constituents that they hope to lead. They have honest interactions with voters, and it's, again, a two-way conversation, a level playing field, an equal opportunity. They don't all win, but they go home saying, I had my shot.
I love those two-way conversations with Donald Trump talks to 10,000 people and 10,000 talk back. Arnie, you get your 30 seconds.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome you to the New Hampshire equivalent of the Mardi Gras. So that's really what this is. You didn't know it happens every 4 years. But let me just say something about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been doing living rooms. Because he's been on TV for how many years? And the TV is usually in the living room or he's even done the bedrooms. So he has actually been here, and that's where there's a falsehood. He can have these huge crowds, but there's also been an intimacy with Donald Trump.
That's your 30 seconds.
That's my call.
Okay, how about it?
Well, I think New Hampshire is the right place for this because it's good for the other 49 states. This is a place where candidates get tested. They ask the questions, the follow-up questions, but it's also very good for people in your business. No other state can people ask questions. Reporters too.
That's totally true.
And you have no access like you don't in New Hampshire.
But you would also agree that the great line from John Sununu the Elder, the former governor, that Iowa picks corn, we pick presidents, it's an iffy proposition. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. But we are putting them through a test. This is very different than a caucus. It's a very different election. I expect that we'll have huge voter turnouts next Tuesday.
Let's pop up a poll. I know people are sick of polls, so we'll give them one. We did the GOP in a second. Here's the Democratic poll. This is the UMass Channel 7 nightly tracking poll. And admittedly, there's a margin of error issue, et cetera. But on February 1st, Sanders was up on Clinton 31 points. He's now up 22, 9-point difference in just 3 days. What does history suggest about huge front runners coming into town? Do they survive the week after Iowa, Neil?
This is a time when we wait for that New Hampshire moment, that 1 week where all the churning going on. A lot of people are still making up their mind. They're still making up that we have big swings in this week. Anything can happen. He certainly, though, has high expectations.
So there's no guarantee in any of your minds that Sanders and Trump are the winners here?
Oh, absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, first of all, what is it? 40% undecided. 45% of the electorate are what's called undeclareds, which means they can either pick up a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. I was married to an undeclared. And let me just tell you, I did not know what he was going to do and which ballot he would pick up until he walked into the voting booth. And if there was a conversation with him, I thought I knew him. I never did.
Speaking of those undeclared, do you buy the notion, I know you've written about this, that there are some people who don't just decide which party to be in because that's where they want their vote heard, but they vote strategically. They want to stop Donald Trump. Even though they're a Democrat, an independent, an undeclared leading Democratic, they vote Republican in an attempt to derail a candidate. Do you buy that, or is that an aberration?
No, I don't think that really happens with many people. You know, back in 2000, John McCain attracted so many independents to the Republican primary that it probably cost Bill Bradley a win against Al Gore. There were enough votes in that year that Bill Bradley could have won and John McCain could have won, but he sort of hogged them all.
You know, since you're the Democrat, not the undeclared in the middle, when Hillary Clinton is attempting, like everybody does this in all races, trying to lower expectations. You know, he's the next door neighbor thing, as I just discussed with Ted. She's got the whole political infrastructure of the Democratic Party. Jeanne Shaheen, the governor, virtually every elected official, virtually every. How can she make the claim that he's the favorite son here?
Well, she can't, because she's been running here since 1991. As I said,
right, and she won in 2008.
Right, and on top of which, I mean, there are grandchildren that their grandparents were working on her campaign in 1991 with Bill, and now they're still in the fold. The problem is she has the organization, she has the money, she has the networks, she has the Shaheen Sheen machine. She has the Maggie Hassan machine. So when it comes to machine politics, she has it. What Bernie has, obviously, is the passion.
Speaking of passion, there's also the age divide, which is just stunning to me and you've all seen it, out of Iowa. Is that going to play out in a similar way here, Neil, or is it going to be muted to some degree?
Absolutely, and I think it's going to play out when they go to these debates. There's a debate tonight at a university, a whole bunch of university students in that hall. I mean, we don't know what the audience will do, but we see it every day with the people that are going door to door. A lot of young people are for Bernie Sanders.
You know, I want to talk to you about your successor. Jennifer Horn was here today with us on the radio. She made a comment a couple of months ago that got her in a little bit of hot water, at least with the Trump people, because they're all supposed to be totally neutral. Shallow campaigns, she said on November 25th, that depend on bombast and divisive rhetoric do not succeed in New Hampshire. I don't expect that they will. Now, she didn't mention Trump. She was obviously talking about Donald Trump. Is she right? I don't expect that they will now. Is she on to something? Are people ultimately going to say, despite this intimate relationship when he was on television, we don't like this kind of campaign? Is there any sign they don't like his campaign?
Well, sure. I mean, I think there are 2/3 of the Republican Party who are against Trump. They just haven't decided who it is that they're going to support instead. Listen, it's a thankless job being state party chair, but Donald Trump very well may win this primary. The real contest here is who's second, who's third. They're not necessarily competing with Trump or needing to beat him, but they are competing with each other to have the right to take on Trump in another state and to stop him.
If Trump wins this thing, doesn't it undercut all the things you were explaining to me 5 minutes ago about why this is the perfect state to go number one? Why no? He destroys all the...
2 years ago, he started campaigning in the state. I have gone with him. I have held events where he's answered every single question in the audience. Just because the room is big doesn't mean he's not answering questions. He's been campaigning here. He has a national audience, but he still comes back to New Hampshire. So I disagree with the notion that he hasn't been campaigning in the New Hampshire way. He's winning because he's hitting the nerve of a certain segment of the Republican Party activists, and they love him.
By the way, in your defense, we had an activist in his campaign, Carl Zahn, here today, who said he went to an event several months and months ago for Trump where there were 3 people at it. He was one of the 3, and it built from there. Okay, starting here, since we don't talk about issues enough, quickly on the Republican side, what issue matters most to people who take Republican ballots here, Neil?
I think it's Obama malaise. They're mad, and Trump's statement of Make America Great Again is a response to that.
David Axelrod wrote a great piece in the New York Times about a week ago saying, I can't believe I dismissed Donald Trump for exactly that reason. Elections often turn on the reaction to the person who went before. What's the most important issue to Republicans here, Fergus?
The New Hampshire electorate is a fiscally conservative electorate. I don't think there's any question about that. But I also think a good third of the party says, I think America's pretty great already. I haven't given up on America's ability to solve problems, and I expect that our best days are ahead of us. There's only one candidate who's really talking that kind of positive vision. So I think a third of the party is really going to reject this idea that America's in decline, which is what Trump is
selling.
saying.
You're the perfect person to ask what Republicans are thinking, of course,
Yeah,
Arnie Arson. So you complete that, and then we'll move to the Democratic side.
I think the anger thing is exactly what Donald Trump has really sort of tapped into, and it's an anger and a frustration with actually government itself. And so nobody else can actually say that but him, because he's such an outsider. And I think that's one of the things that you're seeing resonate with the base. And then the question is, how do the little governors compete with that? Because they're bringing in, well, they're all bringing their resumes, and nobody wants to hear about a resume. What they really want to hear about is someone who will sort of change the system.
Okay, quickly, we can't talk about the little governors. We can talk about the little senators and the former little senators. On the Democratic side, what are Democrats in the state looking for in Sanders or Clinton? What's going to turn that race?
Oh, Bernie Sanders is getting support from people who believe in Bernie, but they're also getting his support from people who want to send a message that they're tired of the Clintons or they're dissatisfied with her. He'll take those votes either way they come, but I don't think he's going to win this thing by 20 or 30 points like polls are suggesting.
How about you, Arnie?
I think the inequality issue is huge. I think the jobs issue is huge, and I think money in politics is huge.
People care about foreign policy, where she brings all this expertise?
That's not the issue right now in this campaign, and I think what's really important is the money in politics things goes to the Wall Street problem. That they're totally connected.
Neil, you get to finish it.
Well, his ad says the system is rigged against you, which is an amazing statement when you think about the fact that his party, or people who believe in the same things he do, have been in power for 7 years. The system is rigged against you. It's an amazing statement.
But it's working, right?
It's working. It's a movement.
I love the smile on your face when you're saying that, too. Neil, Arnie, Fergus, it is great to see all 3 of you.